Earlier this year, I had heard that the refrigerant, Freon R22, gives a wicked buzz and makes you hallucinate like crazy in a manner similar to dissociatives like PCP. This was just the beginning of my problems. I decided to huff some Freon as I thought it would be a cheap and fun way to get high as I didn't have access to any other drugs at the time. My dad works on AC units and at refrigeration plants and makes a decent amount of money doing so. He had several canisters of Freon sitting around in the garage. After about a month of getting familiar with the gas and how it worked, I knew exactly how much to breathe, and I would spend hours in my basement watching people walk by and strange figures dancing around the walls. Later, I found that if I put headphones on and listened to stoner music, the effects were much more intense and colorful. As I increased the dose of Freon, it seemed as though I was God and I was able to travel anywhere and understand anything. Of course, I had some bad trips like the house burning down and blood spewing out of my chest, but usually they were amazing and liberating. This next part is difficult to explain. However, I will try my best to describe the experience. It was nighttime and I was in my backyard sitting on the chair with the Freon canister in front of me. I began huffing at a rate I have never done before, and this is when things got fucked up. I felt like I was spinning. The spinning became more of a half spin that violently went back and forth. Soon I felt as though my body was being pulled from every direction. The spinning continued to get worse. It started to spin from several different directions, and the pattern for my cutting board was still present, but from all the spinning, it had started to create new patterns and textures. The pattern soon turned into that of casino chips covered in pool table cloth. Then the casino chips started to spin individually. Soon, the spinning became much worse and the sounds became that of those little metal balls that are suspended and hit each other, only it was much more rapid and rather disturbing. Out of nowhere, it all went away and I was suspended in nothingness. I was floating in a black void, but I heard an evil laugh echoing slowly towards me. When the laughter sounded like it was right behind me, I was then transported to a happy place. It was a hilly meadow, green grass, flowers, and a clear sky with a bright sun. It was the happiest place in the universe, and the euphoria I felt just by existing in it was impossible to describe. The world was filled with rainbows and candy, unicorns, puppies, and cats everywhere. After a few minutes of pure ecstasy in this fantasy land, there was this strange noise, laughing. It got louder and louder until, when at its zenith, the world faded and swirled into a dark hall. At one end, there was this little girl. The little girl had a bob cut and a pink and blue dress, and that may not sound so scary, but she had a psychotic smile that looked like someone cut a smile into her face with a knife. It stretched from ear to ear, and her eyes were bloodshot, yellow, and had black blood dripping from them. She didn't move for a few minutes, simply staring into my soul itself. Then, she slowly started to move forward, slowly. A smile started carving its way into her mouth, and the bloodshot eyes, which simply exuded maliciousness, melted into the fabric of the universe itself. That's when she started rushing towards me. She ran 1,000,000 kilometers an hour, and I just managed to run 1,000,001. Never catching up and never lagging, she pursued me into the small hours of the morning in this endless long tunnel. On the brink of my wake-up, everything would slow as I collided into the end of the tunnel. The big smile would turn into a full open-mouth smile, revealing something bloody, teeth so sharp at their smallest point they were smaller than a fucking atom, with white fangs drenched in a red substance, all inside a black hole darker than space itself. She finally caught up with me, and right as she was about to bite my face off, the trip ended. It just ended, like that. No come down, nothing, just an abrupt ending of the bad trip. It felt like it went on for hours, but I checked my watch. It had only been 5 minutes. Damn, this shit is something else. Unlike the euphoric afterglows I felt after my previous Freon experiences, I felt anxious and had an excruciating headache. I tried to move, and I did, but I felt like my body was still lying down. My legs were moving, but I felt like I was still in the chair, and I still felt like I had the canister in my hand, but it was not. It was on the table. I went inside and I sat down on the couch, and my arms felt like they were made of rubber and had sagged to the floor, like an old and abused Stretch Armstrong. About a minute later, I felt normal again, but still with a crushing headache. I took some naproxen and went to bed. It all ended one day after I made the brilliant, heinously stupid idea to huff before driving. I wrecked my car, obviously, but not before tripping. I was upset and I wanted to get away from home for a while. Not for a long period of time, but at least for a day or two. After about an hour of arguing with my parents about something unrelated to the situation, I decided to just take a big hit and let the lights go out for a while. Passing out was common with Freon, but I was so angry that I wasn't thinking clearly at the moment. I took 2 deep breaths and I was out, but something was wrong. I felt confused and walked over to my car, opened the door, shut it, and turned the vehicle on and began driving aimlessly down the street. It was the dead of night and I had no idea where I was going or why. That's when I heard a loud bang and a scream of agony. The little girl from the previous trip appeared standing on the hood of my car, crouched down in front of the windshield with that shit-eating grin on her face, startling the shit out of me and causing me to crash into a tree. I realized that somehow, even in my Freon-fueled days, I had remembered to put my seatbelt on, so I wasn't seriously injured. I got out of the car and I felt my body slowly dying. It was something I have never felt before. The feeling is still impossible to describe. Suddenly, I was standing in front of my body, grabbing its arms and holding on to it because it felt as though somebody or something was pulling me away. The terror lasted forever. It literally felt like hours. I really thought I was dead and my conscious self was actually my soul apart from my body. Finally, I came to, but I couldn't move and I couldn't see straight. I just laid on the ground for at least 15 minutes trying to make sense of what had just happened. I walked home in a dazed and paranoid state and crawled upstairs to my bed and crashed. I was cold as shit to the point where covering myself in blankets did nothing. I now know that I was cold because Freon is a refrigerant and can lower your core temperature if inhaled. The next day I vowed never to do Freon again, and I still haven't. This experience had disturbed me so badly that all I did for a week was lay down on my bed thinking about what had happened and was desperately trying to remember the details about the experience and what it meant. My friends and parents tried to talk to me, but I was so disturbed I could not even acknowledge their presence. The only silver lining is that my dad was too happy that I was alive to be pissed at me for huffing toxic chemicals. Never, ever, ever will I make that mistake again. It was a stupid-ass thing to do, and no one should ever huff this shit. Don't do it. Use any other drug. Anything else is better than this. Heroin, meth, even crack is healthier than this shit. Several years later, I tried ecstasy for the first time, and that has helped me greatly in dealing with this. I didn't know that Freon could make you hallucinate something so horrific, but the fear was genuine, and I could still remember that little girl's face today. I guess it was my conscience trying to scare the shit out of me as to where I would never do this shit again. The places that Freon brings you are euphoria and bliss in their purest form. It's like a heroin addiction. You just want to stay there forever, but you know it hurts you, and you know that beneath that false happiness is a hell you may not ever escape from. I will regret doing this for the rest of my life. I guess I'll start off with some background info. My grandpa owns an air conditioning repair place. It's basically a family business. I've worked there and my cousin used to work there. I worked on AC units for a few years. Illegally though, I was only 18 and didn't even have a license. While I worked there, a few friends of mine kept trying to get me to try huffing Freon since I had access to mass quantities of it. They also tried to get me to hook them up with it. I always harshly turned them down because I know how dangerous this shit is. It says it right on the box in big letters that inhaling it can and will make your heart stop, among other bad things. But you guys are probably aware of this, so I'll go on with my story. One morning in 1998, I woke up to a phone ringing. It was my grandpa and he was sobbing. He told me to wake up my parents and come to the shop quick. I hauled ass over there to find an ambulance in the parking lot along with a bunch of cops. My cousin, who was working there, had been huffing Freon, R22 if that matters, from a trash bag and had passed out into the bag. There was a small amount of liquid Freon in the bottom of it. Needless to say, his lungs were practically destroyed and he had been dead for a while. I guess what I'm trying to say is do not do this shit. I've messed with inhalants before and I know how cool they can be, but damn, don't huff Freon. When you get it out of someone's AC, think about it, you're not even getting good quality. It has probably been in the unit for at least 5 years. During that time, it absorbs oil from the compressor, chemicals from the welds in the Freon lines, and other shit like that. Freon is a tasteless, odorless chemical. The honey taste I've heard described as the impurities in it from the machine it's been in. And if the compressor is going out or electrically shorting from age, you might be getting burnt Freon. Once when changing out an old unit that had some in it, I had on a mask, of course, and let a blast of this stuff out on a nearby anthill. The ants immediately stopped moving, dead. This is some nasty shit. Anyway, if you want to get high, inhalants are a dumb way to do it. Just smoke some weed or sniff some coke or something. If you like inhalants that much, stick to the tamer ones like whippets or something. Freon is just about the most dangerous one you can do, especially if you are getting it out of an AC unit. They're trying to get rid of Freon altogether because of what it does to the atmosphere. Just think about what it does to your lungs and brain. I miss my cousin. My first experience with Freon was excellent. I tried it after an awesome night at a rave. You get the same wah-wah effect as a single nitrous balloon, except with just a little bit more potency. I soon found myself emptying whole air conditioning systems in a single evening. The most difficult problem I had was getting the dose right. Too much and you just black out. Stitches in the head suck, I had my share. And not enough and you get the wah-wahs. Somewhere in the middle was excellent. I found that the best was with my eyes closed. I could see the surroundings around me, walls, cars, cardboard boxes, etc., but with an amazing brilliant color coding. It's like the background from a Grateful Dead poster. I had many friends visit during my 30 to 60 second highs. Voices and faces would come and go. The other bad part was the occasional, every 2 to 3 days or evenings, vomiting. This is caused from the oil and other impurities not found in nitrous. I was usually too high to care. I have a weak stomach anyhow. More than 3 to 4 beers an hour makes me sick. I did find myself addicted for a couple of months, although it was mostly a mental addiction, not physical. I was a junkie if you can become one off of Freon. I was spending 75% of my free time huffing on any AC unit that wasn't in plain sight of a street, mostly at schools or churches that I knew no one would be at in the middle of the night or Saturday afternoon. I eventually did get caught by the police. Simple trespassing and destruction of property, no charges pressed. The cops didn't really know what to do with me. I was making too much noise behind a business that backs up to a neighborhood. The reasons I chose Freon was of its accessibility, its duration, and it doesn't come out in blood or urine tests. Some suggestions: don't do it at a location that you frequent, your house or car. Freon is expensive to replace. Second, do it with a friend in case you black out so they can keep an eye on you. Third, sit down. I had stitches in the back and top of my head twice. I have since turned 21 and can get alcohol for myself or find acid, although I still enjoy the occasional binger. When I was 13, I was at my friend's house and this girl came over and started talking about Freon. I had never heard of it before and had just started smoking weed, so I was pretty curious. She, along with my friend, told me how it was done and I said let's do it, so we did. We went to the side of her apartment complex where the air conditioner was, got the plastic grocery bag ready and a stick to push in the gauge where the Freon comes out, filled the bag and started breathing it in. Within seconds, I got this insane whole body high. I heard weird sounds and couldn't help but laugh hysterically. The high lasted about a minute or two, so we kept on huffing it until we noticed people looking at us. From that day on, I was hooked. I huffed pretty much all day every day during the summer. One incident I remember more than any other was this one. Me and a friend went to this church. Neither of us had central air, so we could huff. It was at the beginning of the school year and we had just got out, went to her house to get a bag and a pen and went looking for an air conditioner. The church was the first one we came to. So we got the bag ready, waited till the AC turned on and pushed the gauge in with the pen. She inhaled her bag full first and then I did. We would laugh hysterically and run around like idiots and come back for more. After about an hour of huffing, my trips were getting more intense. The last bag I did, I remember falling down the field next to the church, and I kept hearing this crazy sound, like in a video game, like old school Mario Brothers when you would jump on Yoshi, that sound. Plus other random sounds like echoes and 8-bit music. Also, I remember laying there and flinging my leg from side to side, and I would see Pokemon. I don't remember its name, but I kept seeing that cute little fox thing that had 3 tails. It would always run towards me, then run away. I have no idea how long I laid there, but when I came to, the sun was starting to go down. I didn't see my friend, so I started running, then I found her passed out on the side of the road by her house. There were times when we would pass out in random places, would go to neighbors' houses, churches, businesses, anywhere that had an air conditioner just to get high. Towards the end, we were using trash bags and filling them completely full and would pass out for 12 plus hours. That was the last time because we couldn't remember anything, plus we had gotten frostbite on our lips that hurt and looked like herpes. I would never, ever recommend anyone to do this. We got super lucky that none of us died. My memory and the way my mind works now, 7 years later, is probably equivalent to an 11-year-old's. I don't even want to know how many brain cells I've killed. It may have been fun, but I wish I had never tried it.